Mm.
Right. So, good evening, everyone. Can you guys hear me? Right. Okay. So the meeting is full. So I hope the internet connection of you guys are stable because disconnect not I right. So just make sure that you have a stable internet connection. Because there are more participants joining. I tried to rent out a meeting, but I couldn't do it. Then they didn't respond. Chandani couldn't. Me, Gomari, didn't respond, and I couldn't enter out a meeting. So it's a 100 participant meeting. So the others will have to watch the recording. The students who cannot join will have to watch the recording. Right. So the guys who are here, um, hope you guys have a stable internet connection. Okay. Right. So let's start the seminar then. So let me just explain to you what we'll be doing. Right. So this seminar is going on for 4 days. It's a free seminar where anyone can join, and it's going on for 4 days, starting from today, and it goes on till the end of this month, every Tuesday at 7. Right. So in this seminar, what we'll be doing is applied biology, the 10th unit. The 10th unit, which is the smallest unit of the A-level biology syllabus. Okay. Right. So now results came. The 2024 batch A-level results came a few days ago, and some of the students who are willing to do second try spoke to me. And what I asked them was, have they covered the syllabus? Right? I asked them whether they had covered the syllabus, and most of them answered that they couldn't cover the last few lessons. Mostly unit 8, 9, 10, those lessons were not covered properly. Right? So that's, of course, a very big issue when you consider unit 9, sorry, 8, 9, 10 are very important, right? Now, 10 sorry, I'll come to 10 later, but basically, now most classes are still in genetics, right? Most classes are still in genetics. Yeah, most classes are still in genetics. So that means you guys have 5 more months, I guess, right? 5 months. Yeah. November 10th, right? 5 more months. And within these 5 months, unit 7, 8, 9, 10 should be covered. Okay. By the classes. Classes take unit 7, 8, 19 cover කරන්න. And not only that, in biology, මේ lesson එක එකපාරක් කියුවා කියලා මතක හිටිනවද? If you just go through that lesson once, and if you just go through or study the lesson once, you won't remember it, right? So basically, within the 5 months, these 4 lessons should be covered, and along with that, you should be able to study them and remember them as well within the span of these 5 months. And along with that, you happen to have 2 more subjects called chemistry, physics as well, right? So ඒක නිසා um, it's a bit unpractical, right? It's a bit unpractical. So one thing I would say is try to cover the syllabus as soon as possible, right? Because a major issue in biology is not covering these lessons properly. Now, in the 2024 A-level paper, we saw that the structure was different, right? Usually, අපි ගත්තොත් basic change කියන්නම. Usually, when we take the A-level paper, there are 5 essays, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10, right? So usually ගත්තොත් this is the 5th essay comes from unit 2, 6th is usually from unit 4, 7, 8 are from unit 5, one is from grade 12 and the other is from grade 13. Then 9 usually includes 7, 8, 9. Okay, like part A, part B. Sometimes they put the part A from unit 7, part B from unit 8, and part B from unit 9 or something like that. And then the 10th question, of course, includes 3 short notes, right? 3 short notes. And this is where you get the essay from the 10th unit, right? I remember in our A levels, we got 10, 24 tissue culture. I think tissue culture was this. I can't remember properly, right? So what they did was, now usually you can answer 4 essays if you know the first 5 units. Right? If you know the first 5 units properly, you can clearly answer 4 essays, right? And out of the 6 essays, answer can only 4. So if you know the first 5 units, you can clearly answer the first 4 essays. Okay. What they did in the 24 A-level syllabus, A-level paper was that they put part A plasma membrane. Part A was plasma membrane, that's from unit 2. And part B was, I think, a question from protein synthesis, that's from unit 7. Right? That's from unit 7. එතකොට මොකක්ද උනේ? ඉතින් බය වුණා. ඇයි ගොඩක් අය 7, 8, 9, 10 කරලා නැහැ. Right? එතකොට මොකක්ද උනේ? හරි මේකයි ආන්සර් කරත් මේ essay එකට full marks එන්නේ නැහැ. Right? So that was a big issue in the 24 level paper, and most students, even though they have MCQ marks above 40, usually අපි කියන්නේ above 40 ගත්තොත් ඒකක් ගන්න පුළුවන්. MCQ above 40 කියන්නේ essay you just have to take 35 නේ. So usually that's possible. But that was not the case, right? So most of the students, even some students who got above 40 or 45, had B's and C's for biology because of the essay structure change, right? So අපි ගත්තොත් in the 25 A-level paper, that might be also the case. මෙතන 7 නැතුව 8 වලින් 9 වලින් එන්න පුළුවන්. මෙහෙමයි. They can go to the initial structures වෙලා මේ විදිහට ලස්සන දෙන්න පුළුවන්. But මේ තුන දාලා දෙන්න පුළුවන්. Who knows? What if they replace the 5th essay completely out of these 4 units? 5th essay එක අරගෙන completely මේ ටික දානවා. Right? We don't know that, right? So that's one change that led to the results going down. And another change is the structured essay was very long, right? The structured essay was very long, and most students told me that the structured was long and they couldn't manage the time properly, right? So structured essays, when you talk about the structured essays, there are 4 structured essays, 1, 2, 3, 4. Right. So we 4th 1, 2, 3, 4 4 structured essay is completed from unit 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. Okay, completed from these units. And most of the students give up this structured essay as well. Right? What differentiates you from a normal A or a B into a good A in biology is this structured essay. I clearly remember this was the easiest structured essay in our paper. This is the easiest structured essay. This is the easiest structured essay. Right? It's from unit 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and they don't ask you deep questions. They just ask you simple questions from the resource book. Right? It's not very hard. Right? So this is the easiest structured essay, but still most students give up that structured essay. So basically කරන්නේ නැහැ. ඇයි මේ unit හරියට cover කරලා නැහැ. So they just go with the first 3 structured essays. I know there might be students here who did second and third child and did that, right? And I know personally some of my friends even gave up the 4th structured essay, right? But that is the easiest structured essay. Out of all these 3, that is the easiest structured essay to answer, right? So knowing these 4 units in about 3 or 4 months prior to the A-level exam would give you a huge benefit. It's a big benefit. මොකද අපි ගත්තොත් again from these 3 units you get about 10 MCQs maybe. Yeah, about 10 MCQs. I remember even in our A-level paper, from unit 9, they had put 4 MCQs, right? 4 MCQ. One MCQ mark is 1 mark in the whole paper. So that's very important. So in 2023, I remember unit 9, well, there were 4 MCQs. So at least you get 10 MCQs from all um, these sections. Basically, 31 to 40, those MCQs are from these sections. And then between 40 to 50 also, you get some questions from them, right? So minimum, you get about 10. So if you don't know the lessons properly, etanama, you lose how many marks? අපි ගමු හරි essay එකේ part එකයිනේ. So that's about 3 marks කියලා ගමුකෝ. And you lose 10 marks on the MCQ. And you don't answer the structured essay. That's again about 5 marks. So etanama you lose about 18 marks, right? So you lose about basically 15 to 20 marks if you don't know the lessons properly, right? And that is the case of most students, like most, not all, most students, right? So one thing I want to say is that it's good if you guys can cover the syllabus at least 3 months early, right? At least 3 months early in biology, because it's very important. මොකද you guys personally know that it's very hard to remember stuff, right? It's very hard to remember stuff, and you need time, and you need to be in touch with the lesson for a longer period of time, right? So ඒක නිසා um, it's good if you can cover the syllabus early. Now for the 25 batch, I covered unit 7, 8, 9, right? Mega kara in the last year. And with the 10th unit, I'll be done with the syllabus, the 25 batch, right? So those who know these 4 units will have a huge advantage, definitely, right? Okay. So that's why what I wanted to tell you guys, try to cover those lessons early. Right? Then I can guarantee that you will get a good A, right? Not just a normal A, you will get a good A if you cover those lessons early. Okay. Right. Okay. So we'll go into unit 10. Right. Unit 10 got thought. Let me tell you the breakdown, how it's questioned in the paper. Usually you get about 1 MCQ only. Sama. So 1 to 2 වගේ තමයි උපරිම තුනක් නම් අහන්න නැති වෙයි, but කියන්න බෑ මොකද මම කිව්වා වගේ unit 9 වලින් they asked 4 MCQs. Usually it's limited to 2, but හතරක් ඇහුවා කියන්නේ applied biology වලින් වැඩිපුර දාන්න බැරි නෑ. මොකද applied biology section where it was introduced, actually it was introduced in 2020. The lesson was not there until 2020, and then තමයි ටික ටික applied biology දාන්නේ papers වලට, right? So this might go to about 1 to 3 MCQs max, I guess. Okay. MCQs. Then when we consider the structured essay, I remember in the 23 paper, they had not questioned much. But in the 22 paper, there was a big section on applied biology. In the 4th structured essay, there was a big section, very big section on applied biology. So we can structured essay usually is broken down into part A, part B, and part C. So I remember one complete part, or 1/3 of a structure was from applied biology. Yes, I remember roughly, right? Roughly was from applied biology. So even I study applied biology in the last year. In 2020 they questioned it. In 2020 they questioned it a lot. So ඒ නිසා පාඩම් කරායක බලද්දි අපේ එකේ එච්චර අහලා තිබෙන්නේ නැහැ අතට. applied biology අපේ අවුරුද්ද අහලා තිබෙන්නේ නැහැ. 24 වල moderate amount එකක් දාන්න. Right? It's a moderate amount, not much. So අපි ගත්තොත් from the structure essays again, content of about 1 to 3 marks. Yeah, 1 to 3 marks වගේ තමයි, right? Then essays ගත්තොත් for now it's been restricted to short notes, right? For now it's been restricted to short notes. මට මතකයි 23 වල නම් ආවෙත් නෑ එකක්, but 24 වල we guessed that they would put tissue culture. මතක tissue culture ඉදිරිය or stem cell therapy. I can't remember exactly. They had questioned it under a short note, right? So definitely, I guess you will get a short note as well. 25 wala, it's either short, you won't get a complete essay, don't worry. Aniwari complete essay එකක් ඉන්නේ. It's either a short note or part A, B කියලා දෙනවනේ essay එකට. ඒ part A, B දෙකෙන් එකක්, right? I don't think they'll question you with a complete essay. එච්චර අමාරු දාන එකක් නෑ. මොකද majority of the students won't be able to write it, right? So ඒක නිසා අපි මේක short note එකක් කියලා ගමු. So short note is about 1/3 of an essay නේ. So 1/3 of an essay කියන්නේ how many marks වගේද? That's again about 2.5, okay? Yeah. So in total, you get about make average score 2 and you get about 6 marks maybe max. 6 to 8 marks. අපි ගමු range එක ගමුකෝ. Right, 6 to 8 marks. Max, right? 6 to 8 marks. So that's the marks breakdown for this unit. And this unit is actually not very hard. Right? It's not very hard. Initially, this unit is very boring. Initial part is somewhat boring. Okay. And then as it goes on, it gets somewhat interesting because in this unit, what you learn is how biology is applied in your day-to-day activities, right? How biology is applied in your day-to-day activities and how biology is used as a technology, right? So this unit then, but make on sati deking at the dan tibba. Unit it's I remember it's about 10 periods or so. 10 periods and 30 pages together. So sati deking at the dan tibba, but I'm taking 4 sessions to do the unit because I'll be discussing a lot of questions. Questions mean I'll be discussing a lot of MCQs, right? MCQ questions, right? Yeah. So we'll be discussing past paper MCQs as well as my model paper MCQs in the sessions. So that's why I broke it down into 4 sessions because we anyway have time. Because there's 5 more months and make it better. And then you have time to study as well. Right. So I'll be discussing a lot of questions. Yeah, right. So when we consider the sections that you get in the lesson, it starts with aquaculture. Aquaculture and aquaculture. Then you get nursery propagation or nursing management. Nursery management and then plant propagation techniques. Then you get food preservation. You get something called post-harvest losses. Post-harvest losses. And then these sections, then most important. Dengue and filaria. And then stem cell therapy. ඒක මම හිතන්නේ මෙන්න මේ හරියට එන්නේ හැබැයි stem cell therapy එක මෙතනට දුක දෙන්නේ. නෑ stem cell therapy කවුලක් නෑ tissue culture tissue culture. මෙන්න මෙතනින් මම දාන tissue culture එක හරිද? Tissue culture. Does anyone remember 24 levels tissue culture stem cell therapy කියන මතකද කාට හරි? I can't remember it properly. Stem cell therapy, nanotechnology. Does anyone remember? මොකක්ද ආවේ කියලා? Nanotechnology. Then you get Human Genome Project. Right. So these are the main topics as I remember. Yeah, stem cell therapy. Yeah, okay. Yeah, ornamental මොකද්ද fish culturing කියලා එකක් තියෙනවා මම ඒක aquaculture එකට දැම්මේ. Right, so මෙතනින් important sections ටික I would tell as aquaculture, tissue culture, food preservation, dengue and filaria, stem cell therapy, nanotechnology and human gene, right? ඔය ටික ටිකක් important because ඔය ටිකෙන් තමයි MCQs එම අහලා තිබ්බේ. Right, so those sections might be important. Okay, especially aquaculture. Aquaculture වලින් මම MCQ 3ක් විතර තිබ්බා from the past papers 2020 to 24 බලද්දි. I remember there were about there were about 3 or 4. Okay, so those are the main sections. So I broke it down into 4 parts where we'll be discussing මේ දෙක. Then in the next session we'll be discussing these, yeah, plant propagation, tissue culture, and then sorry, medica. Then this part, because dengue and filaria, you get a content, somewhat content at and then stem cell therapy, nanotechnology, and human genome project, right? So plan it might change according to the way I do it. But I'm hoping to discuss a lot of questions, right? I'm hoping to discuss a lot of questions along with the theory, right? Okay, so was everything clear until now? Yeah, what there now? Right. So I didn't go to introduce myself, right? So anyway, yeah, that's what I want to tell, I guess. Yeah, okay. So we'll start the lesson, Nena. And don't worry, the recordings are also provided. So recordings will be provided. I'll be initially uploading them to the ACE Academy website only. Then I'll upload it to YouTube as soon as possible. Okay. Right. Hurry. Let's start with aquaculture. Okay. So in unit one, right? So there was a unit called Introduction to Biology, if you guys remember. And in that unit, you got a small section called Sustainable Food Production. Anyone who can define sustainable food production? Right? So you got a unit called Sustainable Food Production. Definition. I, of course, remember it. Okay. So sustainable food production section right? So this aquaculture, when we take it, aquaculture is something related to this, that sustainable food production. Okay. So aquaculture, you can just take it from the name, right? You culture aquatic organisms, right? What's culturing? Culturing can basically you grow them under controlled environments, right? That's the basic idea, right? Aquaculture, you culture aquatic organisms, which means you grow them in a controlled environment. Okay. So yeah, okay, we got one definition, we made two definitions. Production of sufficient amounts of food for the human population using environmentally safe methods. Okay, good. So many definitions. Okay, good, good. Okay, good. So the definition for aquaculture is this. Okay. So unit there's a huge content, right? නිකන් හින හැලි ගොඩාක් තියෙනවා. කියවන්නමයි තියෙන එපා වෙන. හරිද? So from those sections, I'll let you know what are the important parts and what are the parts that you need to study properly, right? So defines aquaculture as the farming of aquatic organisms, including fish, mollusks, crustaceans, and aquatic plants, right? So පොඩ්ඩක් මතක තියාගන්න අමාරු වෙන්නේ නැහැ කියලා මම හිතන්නේ. මේ කෝඩ් එක මාරු වුණාට ප්‍රශ්නයක් නැහැ. But ඕක අස්සේ නිකන් ඔබන්න එපා නිකන් aquatic organisms including fish, mollusks, prawns, aquatic plants, and fish, mollusks, crocodiles, aquatic plants වගේ දේවල් ඔබන්න එපා. ඔතන දීලා තියෙන ටික ලියන්න. Right? So that's the definition for aquaculture. Okay? Hari. Aquaculture is something related to the sustainable food production. Okay? So sustainable food production is basically needed so that the growing human population's food needs can be addressed, right? එතකොට now the human population is continuously growing, right? The human population is continuously growing, and you need food to manage the needs or manage the food needs of the growing human population, right? And basically because the fish is like a main source of proteins, right? Fish is like a main source of proteins. But if this aquaculture was not there, what would happen is now fishing would occur, right? Fishing would occur, and it'll lead to something called excessive fishing, right? Excessive fishing. And ඒකේ මොකද්ද වෙන්නේ? All the it's actually a problem in our current world. It's actually a problem that's present. So එකෙන් වෙන්නේ overfishing වුණාම මොකද්ද වෙන්නේ? The wild type species. Wild type කියන හැම වෙලාවෙම මතක තියාගන්න මේ you'll be hearing this word again. Wild type means the species that is present naturally, right? අපි cultivate කරන species එක නෙමෙයි. The species present in the natural environment, right? So the wild type species would decrease in number, right? Would decrease in number, and finally නැති වෙලාම යනවා, right? So in order to prevent that, this aquaculture is important, where fish, basically fish or aquatic organisms, are grown in a controlled medium so that the food needs of the human population can be managed properly. Okay, right? So let's see importance of aquaculture. Then monkey right? farming edible aquatic organisms is accepted as one of the best solutions to feeding the ever-increasing human population. A healthy diet high in protein is necessary to ensure the growing population does not succumb to sickness and disease due to lack of essential nutrients. Harvests from wild source of fish, crustaceans, and other aquatic species cannot keep up with the demand, right, Monkey? So the human population is growing, and the human population needs a lot of food, and so there's a higher demand, but the supply is very low, right? So the wild type species cannot keep up with the demand. ඒකේ මොකක්ද වෙන්නේ? අර overfishing වෙලා the wild type species would finally reduce in number and become zero. අපි කියන්නේ extinction වෙන්න පුළුවන්. Okay. So cannot keep up with the demand present by the growing human population. Trying to match the demand through commercial fishing would eventually result in overfishing. Trying to match the demand. So our growing human population demand match can value through commercial fishing. You can fishing of wild type species that would eventually result in overfishing and the loss of those species entirely. Okay. So it is accepted that while aquaculture is essential to meet the human need for fish and fisheries product, it also relieves the strain on wild species and allows them to continue to be a significant source of food for humans, right? Not allowing them to grow on their own, but allows them to continue to be a significant source of food for humans, right? Okay. So I hope the importance was highlighted, right? So importance where it will relieve the stress on the wild type species and that those species would not be extinct and they would still remain as a food source for the humans, right? So always when learning biology, try to understand what's given, right? Always do that. මොනවා හරි දීලා තියෙනවා නම් try to understand what's given in the content, right? ඒ content එක දීලා තියෙන දේ තේරුම් ගන්න බලන්න. තේරුම් ගත්තට පස්සේ if you understood it, then it would be easy for you guys to remember it, right? So always when studying bio, I would advise you guys to first of all understand what's given, right? Understand what's given and convert it into your own way again. No, I used to do that. I used to read through a paragraph, understand what's given, and convert it into like my own language where I would understand it. Then what I do is I would study or memorize the specific points. When you consider structured essays and essays, what they're expecting is what's given in the resource book, right? Right? What they're expecting is what's given in the resource book. So let's try to understand and study, right? So aquaculturing is basically growing of these aquatic organisms in a controlled environment. Okay. So general characteristics of species that could be cultured, right? Now there are so many characteristics. මේ ඔක්කොම ටික මතක තියාගන්න නම් ඉතින් බෑ කියන්නේ පුළුවන්. ඔයාලට වෙන මොකුත් මතක තියාගන්න නැත්තම්. Right? So I'll just tell you guys what and what to remember and what to have a general idea on. Right? මොකද මේකෙන් MCQ එකක් අහලා තිබ්බා as I remember. බලමුකෝ අපි. හරි. So selected species should withstand the climate of the region in which it is cultured. Yes, of course, those species, we culture specific species now, that species should be able to thank. If you're culturing in Sri Lanka, they should be able to withstand that temperature. If you're culturing in somewhere like Greenland, they should be able to withstand that very low temperature, right? So they should be able to withstand the climate. It should grow well in prevailing physical and chemical parameters of water in the area. So in the area, they should be able to grow well using those parameters present in the water, right? It should be easy to breed, right? Easy to breed can basically breeding is the process of mating and giving rise to offspring, right? So they should be easily breedable so that a large number of eggs and small fries can be obtained, right? Then techniques of incubation. Does anyone know what incubation means? What does incubation mean? Does incubation means are incubating eggs, incubating incubating eggs, incubating bacteria. So incubating bees basically providing suitable temperature. Providing suitable temperature allows them to grow. Right? So incubating of fertilized eggs means they provide the suitable conditions and suitable temperature and allows them to grow. Right? So techniques for incubation of fertilized eggs and rearing techniques of hatchlings or early fry should be available. Early fry like there are in the mosquito there are life cycles you get the egg, you get the larva, you get the pupa. ඔහොමනේ යන්නේ. So ඒ වගේ මේ තියෙන ඒ වගේ ඒවා eggs, larvae, fry, fingerlings, juveniles and adults. So ඒ තියෙන අර the different stages in their life cycle. Okay, should be available so that the production of sufficient number of young organisms would be easy under culture conditions, right? So basically එකක් තමයි හොඳට breed කරන්න පුළුවන් වෙන්න ඕනේ so that you get a large number of eggs and large number of organisms, and you should be able to incubate those organisms or incubate those eggs, sorry, incubate those eggs properly so that a large number would survive, right? ඒක තමයි මෙතන කියන්නේ, so that a large number would survive. Okay, so eggs ගොඩක් එන්න ඕනේ and large number should be able to survive as well. Okay, so food and feeding habits of, sorry, if the eggs, larvae, fry, fingerlings, juveniles, and adults of the species are hardy, right? What does hardy mean? Hardy can what? Hardy. If you guys know, just respond, okay? May අනිවාර්යෙන් respond and ask questions. If you guys have any questions, ask. Now මෙතන questions දෙක තුනක් තියෙනවා. May I'll answer them soon. Okay, just give me some minutes. So hardy කියන්නේ මොකද්ද? Hardy means ability to withstand unfavorable environmental conditions. Yes, good. Can bear extreme conditions. Good. Hardy can bear extreme conditions. So um, if basically any stage of the life cycle is hardy, it is easier for the hatchery manager farming. Can basically, if they can withstand extreme environmental conditions, of course that's easy. Right? That's easy to breed them. That's easy to culture them. Right? Then food and feeding habits of each developmental stage of the species should be known. So basically මේ eggs වලට දෙන්න ඕනි, eggs වලට වෙනම විදියට අපි provide කරන conditions ටික. Larvae should be provided with different types of food. Fry should be provided with different types of food. Fingerlings with another different type. Juveniles with another different type. So ඒ වගේ food and feeding habits of each developmental stage. So these are developmental stages. Eggs, larvae, fry, fingerlings, juveniles, adults, those are developmental stages. Developmental stages, and we need to know their unique nutrition types and feeding habits. Okay, so that's what it means. Okay, so මේ points ටික මම කියන්නේ memorize කරන්න කියලා. Memorize කරන්න ටිකක් අමාරුයි නේ ටික ඇත්තම කතාව. It's so long and එපා වෙනවා ටික memorize කරන්න ගියා. Right? So what I would suggest is you guys to just have a general idea on it, right? Just have a general idea on it, and you get these small points, right? Small points. A points to memorize කරමු. Okay. So H1 reproducing grow out ponzo tanks, right? Grow out ponzo tanks can be basically it should not reproduce in these tanks or ponds which are open to the natural environment, right? Give me a minute. I'll come back. Right. Sorry for that. So it should not reproducing grown out ponzo tanks. What they mean is they should not reproduce in basically in that area other than the cultural, other than the tanks or ponds which are cultured. You get these grown out ponds which are basically naturally available ponds and tanks in those areas. So they should not reproduce in those areas. Okay. Because sometimes these cultured species might affect the native species. Okay, these cultured organisms might affect the native species. So again, it should not reproducing grow out ponzo tanks. If it reaches sexual maturation relatively late, it is advantageous. Right? May point anyone who can tell me why that is advantageous? Why is it advantageous? Why is it advantageous? just නිකන් අර හිතලා කියන බලන්න. If it reaches sexual maturation relatively late, it is advantageous. Okay, I got one correct answer. Yes, so basically, sexual maturation requires energy, right? Sexual maturation requires energy. So if sexual maturation occurs early, what would happen is the energy which was supposed to go into the growth of the fish would go into its sexual maturation, right? එතකොට එයා grow වෙනවට වඩා it will sexually mature, right? එයා grow වෙනවට වඩා it is sexually mature. So why do we culture these fish specifically? Aquaculture karane to obtain fish for food, right? So if they grow larger, then that's of course what they need. So if the fish or if the aquatic organisms achieve sexual maturation late, that means they had time to grow to a certain size which is enough, right? But if they achieve it early, what would happen is the energy is allocated more for sexual maturation, so they would not grow. Okay, so that is why it states that. Okay. Okay, so I got some good answers from you guys. See, that's what I always tell. මොනාරි දෙයක් ඉගෙන ගන්නදී පොඩ්ඩක් හිතලා බලන්න මේ මූ කියන දේ ඇත්තද කියලා. Right? So always just think whether it's correct or පොඩ්ඩක් හිතන්න පුරුදු වෙන්න. Right? හිතන්න පුරුදු වෙන්න. Okay? Right. It should accepted formulated food and grow well. Of course, in aquaculture, you don't get the natural food, so you get the formulated food, formulated by the farmers and all that. So they should be able to accept the formulated food and grow well, right? Then it should be an efficient converter of economical foodstuffs. Again, basically, if you get the fish, if you get the fish, okay, good. So if you get the fish and if you let that fish eat a lot, then aquaculture basically for feeding to eat, right? So if you get the fish and you provide them with the food, right? It does not grow, right? It does not grow. So that's not advantageous, right? That's not advantageous. So if it grows a lot by eating a small amount, then that can be called as an efficient converter of economical foodstuffs. Basically, if it does not grow much, then that's not an efficient converter of economical foodstuffs, right? So being an efficient converter of economical foodstuffs mean basically if it can grow a lot, then that fish is a efficient converter of economical foodstuffs. Then if it is accidentally released to the natural water bodies, there should not be adverse environmental impacts, right? So basically, natural wild type species affect when they should not affect the naturally existing species in the environment, right? It should tolerate high population density and grow well, right? High population density can now in these ponds, they should grow they should grow together with a large number of fish, right? In a pond, you get a large number of fish, right? So the population density, can basically or the density of the fish or the number of fish present in a certain tank, right? So it should tolerate high population density and grow well. It should be able to withstand all of that fish and able to grow well. Basically, even though there's a lot of fish, they should be able to withstand it and grow well. Having resistance to common diseases, of course, advantages. That's the animal. Then it should satisfy consumers by taste, nutritive value, texture of flesh or appearance, body color and color patterns, right? So methane, if you guys can study these points, then එකක් තමයි මේක එසේකට නම් එන්නද කියන්න බෑ එන්න බැරිත් නෑ okay but එකක් තමයි it's either an MCQ structured එකට ආව කියමුකෝ so MCQ එකට ආවොත් මේ වගේ points ටික ආවොත් you should remember them නේ but MCQ එක අර ඔයගොල්ලෝ නිකන් කියවද්දී උනත් ඔලුවට එනවනේ සමහරවිට points structured එකට you should specifically write the point නේ. MCQ වල කියවද්දි අවුලක් තියෙනවා නම් පොඩ්ඩක් තේරෙන්න පුළුවන්. If you generally know the points, right? So of course generally you should know the points, but try to memorize these points. මම හිතන්නේ ඒ ටික memorize කරන්න ගොඩක් අමාරුයි කියලා. Try to memorize these points. Generally try to remember these points, right? With MCQ එකට આવත් you can basically use these when you know the general idea, but structure එකට આવත් you studied some points to write the structure essay, right? So it's good if you can do that. Right? Just a suggestion. ඕන්න ඔක්කොම පාඩම් කරන්න කිසි ප්‍රශ්නයක් නැහැ. But it's good if you can just remember these points because I know you guys have enough and more to study, right? Okay. So let me see some questions. So aquaculturing is basically culturing of fish in ponds and all that were made. Fishing in sea. Oh, yeah, commercial fishing. Within demand through commercial fishing would eventually result in overfishing. And commercial fishing කියන්නේ අපි අර ගිහිල්ලා මාළු බාන්නේ මූදේ. Yeah, මූදේ ගිහිල්ලා මාළු බාන්නේ. That's what they mean. Fishing in the seas and oceans, right? What else? Incubation means incubation කියන්නේ providing suitable temperature. Basically, providing suitable temperature so that the eggs can grow properly, right? Basically, temperature එක තමයි මෙතන provide කරන්නේ. Other than වෙන conditions නැහැ. Basically, providing optimum temperature for growth වගේ. Okay. What else? Why reaching sexual maturity later is advantage? Okay, so basically reaching sexual maturity later is advantageous because if a certain aquatic organism reaches sexual maturity early, I'm talking about this point, right? My point again. If that species reaches sexual maturity early, what would happen is basically they would allocate more of the energy and more of the resources towards maturing sexually than growing, right? So what we need is a full-grown good fish or good aquatic organism. So they would allocate more of their energy for growth, for sexual maturation than growth. If it is achieved early, right? So achieving it late means it has already grown properly to the size that's needed. So then sexual maturity achieving late would be advantageous because it has already grown, right? Okay, so I hope the doubts are clarified. If you have any questions, just ask. Okay, I can answer. Right. So always on a monkey without just studying the point, if you can memorize the point, if it reaches sexual maturation relatively late, it is advantageous. You can memorize it. But if you get an understanding as to why that is advantageous, then you actually don't need to memorize it even. Right? You don't need to memorize it. Because the MCQ statement reaches sexual maturation relatively early is advantageous. You know why it's not good to reach sexual maturity early, right? So without memorizing, there are some sections in which you can understand and try to understand them and take it without always memorizing. Why having resistance to common diseases is advantageous. I think anyway, disease resistance කියන්නේ හොඳයිනේ. If the species are easily susceptible to diseases, then that's of course not advantageous, right? Ek advantage නෙමෙයිනේ. ඉක්මනට ලෙඩ වෙනවා නම් ඉක්මනට මැරෙන්න පුළුවන්. But if they are very resistive for diseases, that means that මොන ලෙඩක් හැදුනත් වැඩිපුර ලෙඩ හැදෙන්නේ නැහැ කියන එක, right? Not susceptible diseases. So resistance එක වැඩි කියන්නේ they will not get sick easily. All right. So this is a very important section. Aquaculture කියන කයල්ල ඒ ටික important. Ornamental fish culture comes under it. හැබැයි එහෙමත් නෑ වගේ. But this section is very important. Okay. So let me see if I have some questions to do. Let's see. Right, I have one question. Let's see that. I just try this question and send me your answers. The trigger. Right. Okay. Let's see the answer then. So most of you guys have sent 401, right? Give me a minute. Right. Okay. So almost half of you guys had sent answers. That's good, huh? Really good. We'll see. So select the correct statement. The World Food Organization defines aquaculture as the farming of aquatic organisms. No, that's wrong, right? So the World Food Organization it's like a made up name. World Food Organization. අපි වගේ අයට යන්න තියෙනවා. So it's not the World Food Organization, it's the Food and Agriculture Organization, right? Not the World Food Organization. So some of you guys had sent the first answer. So that's wrong, right? It's the අර ඒක තමයි කියන්නේ වෙලාව පාඩම් කරද්දී specifically පාඩම් කරන්න. නැත්නම් අපරාධයි. Right? Food and Agriculture Organization, not the World Food Organization, right? So that's wrong. It is advantageous if species to be cultured, reach sexual maturity early, right? Monkey the maker. Take a question right? So second statement of course මතක නැත්තම් practically හරි හිතලා ගන්න පුළුවන්. Species to be cultured should not tolerate high population density. No, they should be able to tolerate high population density because they anyway live alongside with many other fish or aquatic organisms. Aquaculture relieves strain on wild type species. Yes, what happens is basically we depend on the cultured fish species than the wild type species. So it will relieve the strain on wild type species as commercial fishing would decrease. It is advantageous if fish have slow growth in prevailing physical parameters. It's of course high growth, right? So මේකේ අපි පාඩම් කරනවා මේ first point එක විතරයි. ඒක විතර memorize කරන්න. මම ගත්තොත් මෙතන first point එක memorize කරන්න ඕනි අනිවාර්යෙන්. ඒ වගේ දේවල් ඉතින් memorize කරන්න වෙනවා. But 2, 3, 4, 5 you can just take it practical thinking. You don't need to learn this specifically, right? Practical thinking වලින් ගන්න බැරි නෑ. Second point එකත් අපි දාමු memorizing වලට ඉතින් භාවිකයෙන් memorizing නේ. So second point එකත් දැම්ම 3, 4, 5 නම් අනිවාර්යෙන් you can take it practical thinking. Okay, so fourth one is the answer. And that statement is given as well. Let me show it to you. It also relieves the strain on wild species. Okay, so that's correct. So it relieves the strain on wild type species because anyway, wild type species can naturally in naturally in aquatic organisms later. So එතකොට මොකද්ද වෙන්නේ? People or humans can අපි we would depend on the cultured fish species than eating that natural or wild type species by commercial fishing. So commercial fishing ටික අඩු වෙනවා. It will relieve the strain on wild type species. it doesn't release the strain completely. With අනිවාර්ය මාළු බාන ඉන්නවනේ. Right? So it doesn't release the strain completely, but relieves it. පොඩ්ඩක් අඩුයි. Right. Okay, moving on. Ornamental fish culture. මේ ගැන අපි කියවන ගමන් කරමු. ඒකේ මහා දෙයක් නැහැ. Explain කරන්න. So ornamental fish culture or ornamental fishing, ornamental fish keeping has been a hobby of humans for centuries of years. Initially, fish that had some colors were collected from wild and maintained in garden ponds for the joy of watching their aesthetic beauty. Ornamental fishes. Is there a word called fishes? There's no word called fishes, right? It's fish, plural like a fish name. And singular both. Ornamental fishes කියලා ආශ්‍රිත තියෙනවා. නෑනේ ආයෙකද? Okay, so ornamental fishes lure and draw a great attention worldwide through their attractive coloration, shapes, sizes of body, and fins, swimming behaviors, ability to live under captive conditions, and adaptability to live in little spaces. Right. So ඔයගොල්ලන්ගෙන් අහන්න පුළුවන් නිකන් structured එකට වගේ. Structured එකට වගේ question එකක් එන්න පුළුවන්. What are the why do ornamental fish, or what are the factors that involve when ornamental fish lure and draw great attention? Ornamental fishes කියලා ඉදන්නේ, but ornamental fish lure and draw great attention ඇයි කියලා ඇහුවොත්, ඇයි ඒගොල්ලෝ එහෙම attention එකක් හම්බෙන්නේ කියලා ඇහුවොත්, if they give you a question asking why ornamental fish draw great attention, or state 3 points why ornamental fish draw great attention කියන එක තිබ්බොත්, just study these as well. Attractive coloration, shapes and size of the body, fins, swimming behaviors, ability to live under captive conditions, and adaptability to live in little spaces. Right? Ethically, okay. Fishes is used when talking about different types of fish. තේරෙනවා. හරි. Okay. So fish එකම ජාතිය නම් එකම ජාතියෙන් ගොඩක් ඉන්නවා නම් fish. But එක ජාතිය species වලින් ගොඩක් ඉන්නවා නම් that's fishes. Okay. Right. Good. See, even I'm still learning. Right. So yeah. Of course, the coloration, shapes and size of the body and fins, swimming behaviors, ability to live under captive conditions. Those are very important, right? Because the ornamental fish culture can basically they should live under these tanks, aquaculture ponds and all that, right? So they should anyway live under captive conditions. Lure කියන්නේ අර නම්ම ගන්න එකද? Ornamental fish lure කියන්නේ නිකන් grab your attention වගේ. It's the same as draw your attention, right? ඒක ලොකු වෙනසක් නැහැ. Right? So ability to live under captive conditions and adaptability to live in little spaces. Yes, of course, because like ඔයගොල්ලන්ගේ තත් මාළු ඇතිනේ, there might be students who have fish in their or fishes in their homes. So they should be able to live in small spaces because it's either restricted to a small tank or even sometimes goldfish even live in those small bowls. Right? Yeah. So again, they should live in little spaces, right? Ability to live under captive, ability to live under captive conditions and ability to live in little spaces is not the same, right? It's not the same. Ability to live in captive conditions can basically under captivity. Again, it might be a little space or a large space. It might be little space or a large space, but method specifically mean can little spaces, right? Little spaces, right? So it's like the same thing, but what difference at the end? Choose difference. Okay. People keep fish in their homes for a variety of reasons, such as decoration, children's education. I don't know how children are educated. Okay, children's education, enjoyment, relaxation of elderly or health affected individuals. Sometimes where they ask you that sometimes very stressed out people are asked to get a pet or sometimes fish even to relax their stresses, right? So that's what they mean by health affected individuals have fish in their homes, because sometimes having those fish, specific types of fish and all that can help their mental stability. Because cancers වගේ නම් සනීප වෙන්නේ නැහැ, as I know, but it might help relieve the stress and all that. Okay. Prosperity and good fortune. There's a plant also money plant එක කියලා එකක් තියෙනවානේ. Right? So ඒ වගේ some fish are cultured for prosperity and fortune of home occupants and to collect rare species. Yeah, sometimes people collect the rare species and propagates them. You can doing hwagan in species, they will collect them and try to propagate. They propagate කරනවා කියන්නේ basically තව breed කරලා they are increasing increasing the population of that species, right? That's what they mean by propagating them. Globally, ornamental fish keeping has emerged as one of the most popular hobbies, being second only to photography, right? So it's a very popular hobby, ne? Yeah, so species that are commonly used in freshwater ornamental fish culture in Sri Lanka. So මෙතන ඔක්කොම මතක තියාගන්න ඕනේ නෑ. And of course, you don't need to memorize the scientific names. දැන් මෙතනින් කොහොමද දන්නවනේ goldfish උයි ගප්පි. goldfish උයි ගප්පි කොහොමද ගෙදර හදනුම් කියලා දන්නවනේ. ඒ ඇරෙන්න මේ angel fish. I don't know if you guys have seen the angel fish. So මේක මේ පොතේ අන්තිමටම තිබ්බා මම හිතන්නේ මාළුන්ගේ ෆොටෝ එක. Remember පොතේ අන්තිම බලන්න if you guys have the resource book නේ. Yeah, in page number 66 බලන්න. You get all these fish. Let me paste it as well. You get all these fish photos of them. Right, so you get the angelfish, black molly, discus, fighter fish, guppy, and chuti only. Koi carp fishes, kissing gurami, and platy. Right, so goldfish, guppy, and angelfish. And make kissing gurami again. I think molly matak go man. No, they won't ask you the scientific names because they state that the scientific names are not required memorized, right? So you don't need to memorize them. Okay. So Siamese fighting fish are again you don't need to remember everything. Hari. Let me see if I have any questions from that. Yeah, I have one question. Right. I gave one answer. Make it. I think I read somewhere else. Right. Send an answer for this question. Annex 1 means what? It's just, I don't know. Annex 1 can no idea. I don't know. Maybe like, I don't know. It's just a page where you get the images of the fish, right? So don't need to think about those things. You can get Okay, so of course this is an easy question. Yeah, okay, so most of you got it. It's the second answer. Okay. The real question is, where do you get this? Black ruby barb you should know it in your biology syllabus. This black ruby barb is an important fish. You don't get it in the list. Ornamental fish culture list but you need to know this fish. Where do you get it? Let's see if anyone can answer. Okay, I got one answer. Okay, I got another answer. Yeah, you get the fish in the sea. Yes, I know. You get it in the sea. What I asked was, where do you find it in the biology syllabus? They can see. Yeah, you get it in the sea, of course. See the ocean, but yeah, I don't know if freshwater nakula. But where do you get it in the biology syllabus? I got 3 answers, and yeah, 3 of them are correct. Yeah, it's in unit 8. The question is, where do you get these fish? Yeah, it's in unit 8. So very happy moment for me, Mama. Unit 8 to students So very happy. So Black Ruby Barb comes under unit 8. So Remember this. This will be important for A levels. Comes in unit 8 under an example for an endemic species. Endemic species to Sri Lanka. Okay, endemic species to Sri Lanka, black ruby barb. Okay, remember that. Black ruby barb is an endemic species to Sri Lanka. මම අනිත් එක දෙන්නම් කවුද A කියන්නේ loris. Okay, slender loris කියන උනහ පුළුවන්. Okay, so this is needed. Okay, මම මේ වැඩිපුර දෙයක් කියන්නේ මේ ඔයගලන්ට. This is needed. These are the two examples given in unit 8 under endemic species for Sri Lanka. Okay, endemic species for Sri Lanka, black ruby barb and loris. Okay, loris කියන උනහ පුළුවන්. Hari, okay, so until here, is it clear? Until here, is it clear? මෙතන දැන් තේරුණාද? Can I have some yeses or no's or any questions? Was it clear? Right, okay. Then let's go to aquarium. Right, මෙන්න මේ කැලේ important. Okay, this part is important and past papers වල 2 or 3 times it has been questioned as well. Okay, so this is very important. Okay, හරි. Aquarium. So ඕනි කියන්නේ දන්න aquarium එක කියන්නේ මොකක්ද කියලා. Aquarium ගිහිලා තියෙන අය ඇතිනේ. මම ගිහිලා තියෙනවා. මම ගිහිලා නැද්ද? Right, so there are aquarium. So aquarium කියන්නේ දැන් අපි දන්නේ සාමාන්‍ය aquarium කියවම අර ලොකු මාළු ටැංකි තියෙන තැනක් වගේනේ. Right, even in theater you get an aquarium නේ. So එහෙම දේවල් නෙමෙයි aquarium කියන්නේ it's basically any container, right? Any container that can contain an aquatic species, right? අපි ගත්තොත් basically if your house has a fish tank, you can call it an aquarium, right? So you get the definition. An aquarium can be defined as a container that is designed to hold water in which living organisms can be maintained over an extended period of time. So it's any container, right? Jam බෝතලයක goldfish කෙනෙක් දාලා තිබ්බත් that's an aquarium. Okay, so aquaria is a plural of aquarium, vary tremendously in size, shape, and the designs ranging from a simple bottle containing some water. An empty jam bottle is used to keep a male Siamese fighting fish to multi-milliliters commercial exhibit tanks. Right, ලොකු aquariums එනකන් it can vary. Right, maintenance of home aquarium මේ ටික න එපා වෙනවා බොරු කියන්න ඕනේ නැහැ එපා වෙනවා. බයි if you can remember these, that's really good. Okay, because making අහලා තියෙන questions. Hari, let's see. Maintenance of home aquarium. There are activities that should be carried out daily, weekly, fortnightly. What does fortnightly mean? What does fortnightly mean? What does fortnightly mean? Right, yes, fortnightly and yeah, 2 weeks, right? 2 weeks, 2 weeks of 14 days, right? So daily daily can දවසින් දවස weekly can සතියට සැරයක්, fortnightly කියන්නේ per 2 weeks, monthly කියන්නේ of course මාසෙට සැරයක්. In order to maintain environment conditions, water quality parameters, right? Or chemistry degree ඇතිනේ water quality parameters කියන දේ. The pH, the dissolved oxygen concentrations, dissolved heavy metal concentrations on ඔය ටික ඉගෙන ගන්න ඇතිනේ. Water quality parameters වලට. Within the optimum ranges for the fish kept in an aquarium. Provision of correct nutrition can basically providing them with the correct food, right? Provision of correct nutrition can providing them with the correct food. And maintenance of water quality within optimum ranges contribute for the well-being and the health management of fish. Sorry. Provision of correct nutrition and maintenance of water quality parameters within optimum ranges contribute. So, ඕගොල්ලන් නිකන් structure එකක් කියන්න පුළුවන්. Why should the water quality parameters be maintained within the optimum ranges? right? Or what contributes to maintaining the water quality parameters within optimum ranges. That is for the well-being and the health management of the fish kept in an aquarium. Okay. So, and again, questions are very nice structure, right? But really, but very nice. Okay. So, provision of correct nutrient maintenance of water quality within optimum ranges should be done. Okay. So, look what explain can daily. So daily feed the fish, of course, so feed the fish with a nutritionally balanced diet. Balanced diet can anything are carbohydrates, proteins, lipids, water, fibers, minerals, vitamins of but generally uh, if you can give a balanced diet, that's good. So balanced diet can get rather than you get this fish food. Usually they are made according to a balanced diet. Okay. So feed the fish with a nutritionally balanced diet following a correct feeding regime. That means about correct feeding regime can basically දවසට දෙපාරක් තුන් පාරක්වයි කන්න දෙනවා. නිකන් මේ වෙලාවට. At 8 in the morning, then at about 2 p.m., then again at about 7 p.m. Right? So that's what you call following a correct feeding regime. Check on the status of the health while feeding and remove the affected individuals of treating in another tank. Right? So you can just check if someone is injured or not. Right. Then this point is somewhat important. Allowing the fish to adapt for the changing intensity of light. Right? So what they mean is basically now in an aquarium you get lights light right? Light so basically what they mean is switch on the light of the aquarium several minutes after the room lights have been on or after the daybreak. Just a part lights because that might affect the fish. Right? So just put on your house lights, then that would give some amount of light conditions for the fish. Then you can switch on the lights of the aquarium after the fish has got used to that light. Then I light off karadit part light off karanne just turn off the house lights, then it would decrease the light intensity of the house gradually. And then you can turn off the lights of the aquarium, because if you do it suddenly that might affect the fish. Okay. So switch off the light of the aquarium several minutes before the room lights are switched off or shortly before natural lights fades. Right. So that's daily. And weekly, fish should not be fed 1 day per week. Of course, the fish should not be fed 1 day per week. Basically, they lie anything. So, okay, right? So, not applicable for brood fish, fry, and fingerlings. Fish comes to the surface of the aquarium at night when lights are off. But isn't that because sometimes the oxygen levels in the water is low? Sometimes they come to the surface because oxygen levels in the water are low. I'm not sure about that. But oxygen levels are right? I don't actually know why. Right. Fortnightly again සති දෙකකට සැරයක්. Right. Switch off aeration. So aeration කියන්නේ මේ මාළට උගලන් හදන fan එක නෙමෙයි. Aeration is basically O2 දෙන්නේ. O2 then you insert a small aerating tube that'll provide the O2 to the tank. Right. Rake or stir up gently the surface of the rooting medium under gravel filter medium. So මේක මම නිකන් බැලුවා මොකක්ද කියලා. මටත් ලොකු අයිඩියා එකක් තිබ්බේ නැහැ. අතට මා තේරුව ගන්න කලින් මොකද්ද මේ under gravel filter medium කියන්නේ. ඒකේ තිබ්බේ මේ වගේ දෙයක්, right? Basically you get the gravel malu tanki valley and those galketa, you get the gravel so under that you get a filter medium, and under that you get a filter medium where it'll pass the water, right? Or it'll pass the water of the aquarium. Then filter medium tubes, you get tubes and all that coming out. Tubes and they right? So you get the tubes coming out, and basically what it does is it cycles the water and passes it through the gravel, right? It passes it through the gravel, so it gets filtered, right? You get the gravel medium, then below it you get the under gravel filter medium where it circulates the water, right? It circulates the water, and then it passes the water through the gravel. So it gets filtered somewhat. So right? So ඒක general නිකන් idea එකක් ගන්න. So rake or stir up gently the surface of the rooting medium under a filter medium. Anyway, you get these algae and all that particles deposited below the gravel. Okay. So scrape excess algal growth දන්නවනේ අර මාළු ටැංකිය අර කොළ පාට එහෙම වෙනවනේ. So scrape excess algal growth, then allow the debris to settle. So ඔක්කොම clean කරාට පස්සේ allow the debris to settle and you can siphon off the debris. I siphoning කියන දේ මම ඉගන්නන්නේ නැහැ. මම හිතන්නේ මේක මට මතකයි O levels වලට තිබ්බා siphoning technique එක. ඒත් siphon කරනවා කියන්නේ අර pressure difference එකකින් වතුර අදිනවා කියන එක. You get one tank, you get the fish tank here, then you get a basin here and you connect a tube. මෙහෙම tube එකක් දානවා. මේක ඇතුළට දාන්න ඕනේ මම මතක නැහැ හරියටම. මෙහෙම tube එකක් දානවා and basically what you do is suck up the air from it. මෙතනින් හුළඟ ගන්න. You suck up the air out of it and the water will start to flow. මම මතක නැහැ ඔක මොන පැත්තට තියෙන නේද උඩේකද යටද කියලා. I can't exactly remember that. Like you suck up the air out of it and after the air is of course over, the water will start to flow continuously. Right? Continuously යනෝක until the pressure is equalized. මට ඒක මතක නැහැ කොහොමද වෙන්නේ කියලා. Right? So you can ask it from your physics side. Yeah. එතකොට එන්නේ dirty water තමයි. මේ yeah the diagrams දෙක මට මතක නැහැ කොහොමද මේ හරියට වෙන්නේ කියලා process එක. Anyway වැඩක් නැහැ. siphon කරනවා කියන්නේ වතුර ටික අයින් කරනවා වෙන basin එකට. Yeah, so what happens is basically then now imagine this to be the aquarium. Right? Imagine that to be the aquarium. එතන මොකද්ද කරන්නේ? You get those dirty particles and all that settle at the bottom. The debris is settle at the bottom. Right? එතන මොකද්ද වෙන්නේ now? You get the clean water at the top. Right? So basically the debris would move in and can be removed easily by that siphoning method. Right? No, you don't need to suck it until the dirty water comes into your mouth. Just suck out the air and it continues to flow. Right? Just suck out the air and it continues to flow. ඒක කිසි අවුලක් ගැන හිතන්න එපා. හරිද? ඔයාලට බැන්න වෙන කාටද දෙන්නේ ඉතින් ප්‍රශ්නයක් නැහැ. Okay. So scrape the excess algal growth, allow debris to settle, siphon off the debris along with 20 to 25% aquarium water. Right? So 20 to 25% know the percentage පොඩ්ඩක් ඔලුවේ තියාගන්න. Then replace the volume of siphoned out with fresh water in which temperature, pH, and hardness match the conditions. Right? So what it means is basically that you take out about 20 to 25% water from this aquarium. So replace it with water that matches the conditions that are already in the tank. Because if the pH or if the hardness of the water is difficult, that might affect the fish. Right? So always maintain the conditions in a constant level. Okay? Yeah, good. So you can use a syringe to make an airflow. So syringe you can pump the air out and the water will continue to flow. And switch on aeration. So with the switch off, switch on. Right. So that's fortnightly. Then monthly. So විශේෂ දෙයක් නැහැ. බලමුකෝ අපි. Take out some water from the aquarium into a basin, another tank or a bucket. Collect the fish carefully. So basically collect the fish and put it into it. Right? Collect the fish carefully using a hand net and introduce them into the basin, tank, bucket and arrange aeration to it. Right? So basically you get the tank. So එතනින් වතුර ටිකක් අරගන්න බේසම එකට වන්නේ ඒක මුට්ටියක් වගේ. හරි බේසම එකට වතුර ටිකක් අරගෙන put the fish into it. Right? Put the fish into this. And put the fish into this and you can arrange the aeration into this. Okay, because the fish have to breathe as well. So bucket and arrange aeration into it. Rinse the rooting medium. Underground filter medium අපි මම අර කලින් කියලා දුන්නේ. So underground filter medium එක rinse it so that the debris is removed. Then remove the aeration tube from the airlift and scrape off any deposit from the opening and clean scrape of air diffuser stones. දැන් මේක නම් එතන මේ point එක මොකටද දාලාද කියලා මට හිතා ගන්න බෑ. මොකද the aeration tubes differ. ඒක නිකන් එක එක ඒවා තියෙනවා. Right? What they basically mean is මේ aeration tube එක පොඩ්ඩක් open කරලා like open up the aeration tube and clean it වගේ දෙයක්. Right? That's what they mean. So open the aeration tube and like clean off the calcium deposited, clean off the algae that grows. That's what they mean. Okay? නැතු අර ලොකුවට ඔලුවට ගන්න ඕනේ නැහැ. අතරම what they mean by මේ airlift air diffuser stones or ඔලුවට ගන්න ඕනේ නැහැ. Introduce a siphoning tube under the filter plates and suck out the accumulated organic debris. Right? So siphoning tube එකෙන් අපි කලින් කරා වගේ introduce it to the underneath filter plates and suck out the accumulated organic debris. Right? Check the terminus of the light source. So light tika harita වැඩ කරනවද බලන්න. Remove dead and drying leaves from plants, right? So just like pruning the plants. I mean, prune, thin out and tidy the plants and replace the poorly grown plants, right? So like it's like checking your garden වගේම තමයි, right? Check out for dead leaves, check out for drying up leaves and prune out and tidy those leaf plants which are poorly grown. Rearrange the filter plates and the filter medium. Arrange the aeration and fill the aquarium halfway with clean water. Now this is important, okay? Arrange the aeration, okay, and fill the aquarium halfway with clean fresh water, aged aerated tap water, right? Echo clean water, nothing aged aerated tap water. Then reintroduce the fish with water and then fill the aquarium to the original level of the water using aged clean water, right? So, ඒක important මොකද initially you need to fill it halfway, then put the fish in, then fill it the other half, right? So ඒක දැනගෙන ඉන්න. හරිද? So yeah, was that clear? Was it clear until now? I don't think you might have many questions because it's just a process නිකන් මේ ටික කරන්න කියලා කියන්නේ. So I didn't explain it නිකන් ලොකුවට explain කරන්න දෙයක්වත් නෑ මට. But is that clear? Was it clear? Right, okay. So why fill it halfway? ඒක නම් මම දන්නේ නැත්ත. ඒ බොරු කියන්න ඕනේ මේ point එක මම දන්නේ නැහැ ඒතරම් කරන්න කියලා. Right, reintroduce the fish with water like halfway fill කරලා fully fill කරන්න නැහැ කියලා මම දන්නේ නැහැ අතට. Why do we forget things we memorize in bio? So that just proves that you are human. Right? It's because you are human. Okay, so 10 11 point ඇතර මම දන්නේ නැහැ ඇයි කියලා කරන්නේ, but I'll find out and let you know next week. Okay? I'll find out and let you know next week. දන්න කෙනෙක් ඉන්නවනම් කියන්න. හරි. So these are important. Then this last part also has some important points. Okay, now එතන පොඩි important points එකක් තියෙනවා. බලමු අපි. No matter how much time and care is devoted, things in an aquarium could go wrong from time to time. Equipment failure, excess algal growth, poor water quality, or occurrence of diseases could be the cause. Water turning into green frequently, or green algae growing on plants and aquarium decor, and on the side glass of the aquarium indicates the aquarium is receiving too much light, right? So මේක නිකන් පොඩියට shortly ලියා ගන්න මේ. අහ පැත්තේ resource පොතේ ලියා ගන්න. Green වෙනවා නම් if the aquarium is turning green, that means too much light, too much sunlight. So or light, sunlight. Like done too much light. Too much light. Right? So වගේ දේවල් important. Is it because we put the fish with the water into the freshwater tank, so we fill it halfway and the rest half is from the fish with water? No, I don't think එහෙම දෙයක් කියලා. මම හරියට බලලා කියන්නම් එතන. Right? ඒක බලලා කියන්න I'm also not 100% sure. Right? So මේ ඒක නිසා බලලා කියන්න. බොරුවක් කියන්න නෑ. Right, the reduction of intensity or duration light. So basically green වෙනවා නම් ඒ කියන්නේ මොකද්ද? So there are three main points here that you need to remember, right? Three main points. Green වෙනවා නම් what it means is too much light. Then what you should do is reduction of the intensity or the duration of light followed by partial water exchange, right? Partial water exchange can basically you exchange the water with another source. ඒ කියන්නේ අර ඔතනින් වතුර ටිකක් අයින් කරලා you add some clean water. අන්න ඒ වගේ දෙයක්, right? So reduction of intensity or duration of light. Right, growth of brown algae, right? ඔන්න තව එක්කෙනෙක්. Brown algae as brown incrustations, plants and aquarium decor and on the side glasses of the aquarium are indications of insufficient illumination. Right? හරි එහෙනම් brown නම් මොකද්ද? Brown නම් insufficient illumination. Insufficient light කියලා එන්නකෝ, insufficient illumination. Okay? So A brown and then මොකද්ද කරන්න ඕනේ? Increase the intensity of light or the duration of light exposed. Then you get another point. Blue green algal mats on the plants or on aquarium decor and on the side glasses of the aquarium indicate a high level of organic pollution. Right? එහෙනම් blue green නම් මොකද්ද? Blue green නම් organic pollution. Right? Blue green නම් organic pollution. Okay? Organic pollution. Right. Physical removal of algal mats followed by partial water exchange, a review of maintenance routine with a view to prevent further accumulation of organic pollutants are required to correct the situation. So, මේක තමයි කරන්න පුළුවන් to prevent blue-green algal mats, on the surfaces of the tanks and aquarium decor. Right. So, මෙතන මොකද කියන්නේ prevent further accumulation of organic pollutants, whether too much food are offered to fish, inadequate filtration or aeration or overstocking. Basically, එතන mean කරන්නේ අර organic pollutants කියන්නේ basically sometimes අර ඉන්නේ ඔය මේ සමහර අය ඉන්නේ විනාඩි 30 විනාඩි 30 මාළුන්ට කන්න දෙනවා. නේද? උන්ට කා ගන්න බෑ. අන්තිමට the food gets accumulated and that leads to too much organic pollutants, right? So too much food might be offered. එතකොට blue green algal mats එන්න පුළුවන්. And inadequate filtration or aeration. So when you don't filter it properly, again the organic waste content would be high. Again blue green algal mats එන්න පුළුවන්. And overstocking. Overstocking කියන්නේ මොකද්ද? Like in a certain space, there's a certain amount of plants and animals that you can put. Right? In a certain space, you have a certain amount of plants and animals that you can put. එතකොට overstocking can basically putting more than what can be put. Right? Putting more than what can be put. Okay. All right. Yeah, I hope that was clear then. Let's see some questions. Questions, and then I'm breaking with the number. Let's see what we have. Right, try this question. This is from the 2022 L paper, the 50th question. 50 වෙනි ප්‍රශ්නේ. Period monthly, right? Monthly. අනේ monthly. Okay, try this question. මේක A B C D E ප්‍රශ්නයක්. මම combination ටික කියන්න ඕනේද? කියන්නම්කෝ ඉතින්. A B D නම් 1, A C D නම් 2, A B 3, C D 4. Any other? No, fine. So, try this question and send your answers. Take answers then. Right, let's see. I'm getting lots and lots of answers with different combinations. But which of the following should be carried out monthly when maintaining the aquarium? Monthly. මාසයකට සැරයක්. Cleaning of air diffuser stones. බලමු තියනවාද කියලා. මාසයකට සැරයක්. මම කියවනේ diffuse stones කතා මේ තියෙන scrape off air diffuse stones so clean them හරි එහෙනම් A කියන එක හරි okay A is correct pruning of aquarium plants ඔහොම මේකත් තිබ්බා වගේ මතකයි මේ තියෙන්නේ prune thin out and tidy the plants and replace poorly grown plants එහෙනම් ඒකත් හරි scraping algae grown on glass surface ඒක තිබ්බද මෙතන නේ තියෙන්නේ it's fortnightly scrape excess algal growth okay so ඒක වැරදි removing organic debris accumulated under filter plates එහෙම එකකුත් තිබ්බා වගේ මතකයි මේ තියෙන්නේ introducing the siphoning tube under the filter plates and suck out the accumulated organic debris අර exactly ඒ point එකේ ඒ වචනෙම්ම නෑ but that's what they mean siphoning so introduce the siphoning tube under the filter plates and suck out the accumulated organic debris ඒ කියන්නේ මොකද්ද what they do is remove the organic debris accumulated under the filter plates නෑ ඒකත් correct removing diseased fish that was daily the නෑ මේ තියෙන්නේ නෑ yeah daily නේ check on the status of the health when feeding and remove the affected individuals for treatment in other basing or tank so ඒකත් වැරදි so ABD 1 is the answer good I got some answers saying 1 that's good C is correct C හරිද C is wrong නේ C දීලා නැහැනේ monthly යටතේ it's given under fortnightly okay remove the aeration tube from the airlift no what they mean here is that's a good question scraping algal grown on glass surface in the fourth point they specifically tell you that it's the aeration tube right so remove the aeration tube from the airlift scrape off any deposit from the opening may aeration tube begin again in the fourth point they're talking about the aeration tube not about the glass surface okay in the question they specifically state the glass surface okay eighth point no, eighth point is not related to C. Prune, thin out and tidy the plants. No, that's wrong. මෙතන මේ monthly කියන තැන glass surface කියලා point එක නෑනේ. right? Glass surface point එක එන්නේ මේ fortnightly කතාවේ. right? මෙතන fourth එකයි eighth එකයි ගන්න බැරි basically ඒගොල්ලෝ එතන කියනවනේ aeration tube එක කියලා. right? They're specifically talking about the aeration tube. okay? so ඒක නිසා අපිට කොහොමවත් fourth එක ගන්න බෑ. eighth එක අදාළ නෑ නේ එතනට. So it's the ABCD one, right? I hope you guys agree. මම කියපු දේ තේරුණා කියලා හිතනවා. right? C එක කෙලින්ම දීලා තියෙනවානේ. මේ scraping of the excess algal growth. මෙතන දීනවා. මෙතන එහෙම point එකක් නැහැ. right? එහෙම point එකක් නැහැ. fourth එක දීලා තියෙන්නේ කෙලින්ම under aeration tube. right? So it's one. One would be the best answer. Let's see some more. තව තිබ්බ මම දැක්ක බලමු. Okay, we have another question in 2023. I think I got this correct. Yeah, let's see. Right, try this. The 39th question in the 2023 A level paper. Ban answers. They are lazy, Benny. You can just, you don't even know, like, you don't even know, you don't even need to study the lesson. You can take it directly from what's given. 11 answers. What about the others? And they may contribute. They may not contribute. May contribute to keep the immunity safe. Okay, we'll see. Which of the following may contribute to keep the immunity of ornamental fish in a home aquarium at a high level? Using correct feeding regime as a biosecurity measure. එහෙම එකක් තිබ්බද? Using correct feeding regime කියලා දෙනවා. But biosecurity මම හිතන්නේ මෙන්න පස්සේ අහුවෙන්නේ අපිට. ආ ඒක පස්සේ තියෙන එක නිකන් නෝට් උනේ. සෝරි. මගේ වැරද්ද. හරි. මේ තියෙන better management practices such as maintenance of water quality අපි මේක කරනවා දැන් බලන්න එපා. Correct stocking density of compatible fish with compatible plants and ඒක පස්සේ නෙන්නේ. My mistake. අපි මේක කරලා මේ MCQ බලමුනේ. මට ඒක නෝට් උන්නේ නැහැ. Right? මට ඒක නෝට් උන්නේ මොකද they have combined this section and this section. නේද අපි ඒක කරලා මේ. හරි බලමු. right අපි මේක කරලා MCQ එකට එමු. ඒක තමයි මම බැලුවේ එක එක answers එවනවා. මේක. හරි. Common disease of cultured freshwater ornamental fish. Ornamental fish kept in aquaria are susceptible to numerous diseases. Some of the diseases are infectious and some are non-infectious. Infectious diseases. So infectious infectious can spread. Non-infectious won't spread, right? For example, diabetes, heart attacks, they won't spread, right? So infectious and non-infectious can. Infectious diseases. Invasion of fish tissues by disease-causing agent, a pathogenic virus, bacterium, fungus, or an obligatory opportunistic parasite. Multiplication of it in the tissue, in the fish tissues, and increasing its population may lead to the development of an infectious disease in ornamental fish. Right? Basically, invading of a pathogen, a bacterium, a virus, a fungi, they can invade the tissues of the fish and may involve in developing a disease. Right? That's what they mean. However, many infectious diseases could be avoided or prevented through better management practices. So, better management practices they are like points which allow the diseases to be prevented, right? Disease infection adu karanna there are practices. The better management practices are basically they allow the infections to be prevented. Okay, so you get the diseases when the viruses, pathogens, fungi, bacteria, they invade the tissues of the fish, and the population might get the disease. So the better management practices will involve in preventing the diseases. What are they? So maintenance of water quality. So if the pH, temperature, and all of those factors are maintained, that will prevent the infectious disease from spreading. Correct stocking density of compatible fish with compatible plants. Now, stocking density stocking density is basically when you take a tank, take a tank, there is a number of fish or a number of plants that can be stocked into that tank, right? So number එකක් තියෙනවා, right? දැන් අපි ගත්තොත් කොළඹ ඉන්න පුළුවන් මිනිස්සු ප්‍රමාණයක් තියෙනවානේ. ඩාවින් කිව්වේ හැම වෙලාවෙම, right? So ඒ වගේ basically when you consider the tank, there is a number of fish or number of plants that you can stock into it, right? If the stocking proportions or if the stocking is too much, that might lead to diseases. So maintaining a correct stocking density with compatible fish and compatible plants. If the fish is poisonous to the plants, or if the plants are poisonous to the fish, then they are not compatible. Like the fish can eat the plants. So if they are poisonous, they are not compatible enough. right? So the correct stocking density can the number or the density of the fish that we put into the tank and the number of the plants that we put it into the tank. Gatot, they should be maintained at a correct stocking density. So correct stocking density of compatible fish and compatible plants. Then correct feeding regime, right? So in order to prevent diseases, the correct feeding regime should be followed. A correct feeding regime can basically හරියට කන්න දෙන්න. So in order to prevent diseases, right? So the better management practices will help to keep the immunity of the fish at a higher level, right? The better management practices will help to keep the immunity at a higher level. And along with that, right? Along with the better management practices, තව එක fact එකක් තමයි biosecurity measures. Okay? So ඕගොල්ලන්ගේ ඇහුවොත් how can the infectious disease be prevented? How can the infectious disease be prevented? It's by better management practice and through these biosecurity measures. Now listen to this properly. හරියට තේරුම් ගන්න. If they ask you how diseases or how infectious diseases could be prevented during ornamental fish culturing, එතකොට the answer should be this and this. Let me highlight it. Better management practices and biosecurity measures. Under better management practices, you get the maintenance of water quality, correct stocking density of compatible fish with compatible plants, and correct feeding regime. Under biosecurity measures, you get these factors to prevent the contamination by pathogens. Example, quarantining new fish, plants, and other aquarium decor. Right? Again, under biosecurity measures. How do they? Better management practices, you get these 3 points, which are maintenance of water quality, correct feeding regime, and correct stocking density of compatible plants with compatible fish. How did that? I hope that was clear. Was it clear? That will help to maintain the immunity of the fish at a higher level. Is that clear? Right. So when you know, however, many infectious diseases could be prevented or avoided through. So if they ask you how the diseases or the infections can be prevented, how the infections or diseases of the fish can or fish in the aquaculture, or fish in ornamental fish culturing can be prevented. The diseases prevent කරන්නේ කොහොමද කියලා හෙව්වොත් there are two main factors. Okay, one is the better management practices. The other is the biosecurity measures. Then under the better management practices, you get the 3 points which are maintaining the water quality, using a proper feeding regime, and maintaining a correct stocking density of compatible fish with compatible plants. That comes under better management practices. Under biosecurity measures, what you get is basically the quarantining of these plants and animals, plants and fish or aquarium decor. Right? Quarantining can basically ගෙදරට අලුතෙන් ගෙනාවා කියලා මාළුවෙක්. Okay? So you keep it away from the aquarium for about 2 to 3 days. Then you put it in the aquarium. So if that fish has a certain disease, you can find it within that 2 to 3 days. Right? That's what you mean by quarantine. Quarantining can be right? So biosecurity measures, any quarantining and all that. Better managed practices, you get those 3 points. Right? I hope now it's clear. Yeah. To keep the immunity of the fish at a higher level, again, basically the better management practices. The better management practices help to keep the immunity of the fish at a higher level. Yes, that's correct. So, what are the factors that involve in keeping the immunity of the fish at a higher level? Right, what's given in the brackets. Right? Better management practices. Okay. So I hope that was clear. Now let's go to the question. Which of the following may contribute to keep the immunity of ornamental fish in a home aquarium at a higher level using correct feeding regime as a biosecurity measure කියන එක වැරදි. ඇයි ඒ? ඇයි ඒ? මොකද it doesn't come under biosecurity measure, right? It comes under what? It comes under better management practices, right? It comes under better management practices. Okay, so ඒක වැරදි. Replacing entire volume of water fortnightly එහෙම එකක් තිබෙත් නැහැ. Turning off aeration at night. If you turn off aeration at night, basically you won't have to even think about the image of the fish because they would be dead by morning. You need to keep them in, right? So you don't have to think about them in May. You need to keep them in. So you can't kill the fish, right? So that's wrong. Keeping the lights of the aquarium switched on continuously, again, here point at the bin, right? Maintaining a correct stocking density of compatible plants with fish, right? So of course it's either 1 or 5, correct feeding regime or maintain the correct stocking density of plants and animal compatible plants with fish. First point because it doesn't come under biosecurity measures. It comes under better management practices, right? It comes under better management practices. Second guy වැරදි because it doesn't come under keeping the immunity. It comes under maintaining an aquarium fortnightly. Fortnightly maintaining an aquarium නම් second එක හරි. But මෙතන අහන්නේ to keep the immunity of the ornamental fish නේ. So to keep the immunity මෙන්න මෙතනින් ගන්න ඕනේ point එක. It's not given here නේ. So to keep the immunity මේ second point එක අදාළ වෙන්නේ නැහැ. Right. Okay, so I hope that was clear. හරි. I break එකක් අරගෙන ඉන්නේ because you guys must be tired and I'm continuously teaching for about 1.5 hours, more than 1.5 hours. So මෙතන නිකන් තේරුණා කියලා හිතනවා. Right? නෑ අපි එක තව එක question එකක් කරමු. එකක් කරමු. එකම එකක් කරමු. We'll do this question and then go to a break, okay? මේක you guys know the answer. මේක ඔයගොල්ලෝ දන්න. මේක බලන්නකෝ. මේක දන්න. Try this and let me know the answer. Okay, so go. Mo me වෙනවා. Yeah, right. So අපි කතා කරන්නේ if it's green, then it's too much light. If it's brown, then it's insufficient light or insufficient illumination. If it's blue-green, then means the organic pollution in the aquarium is high, right? So we can take first one as the answer. So monkey important fact. Okay, right. So then automatically, do you guys need a break? Break. I mean, I can go on teaching for more than 3 hours. That's fine. But do you guys need a break? Only. Oh, we're gonna hari mahansi. I'll give you a break. I'll give you a break. Mahansi. Right, okay. Then we'll start again at 9. Okay. So we'll start again at 9. Be back by 9. We'll start again at 9. Okay. Be back by 9. I hope the lesson was clear until here. So be back by 9. Right. Let's start again then. Mm. All right. Yeah. So yeah, having in common diseases of cultured freshwater ornamental fish kara infectious diseases. Now we need to just look at the examples. Right. Examples ටික තියෙන්නේ. So මේක නැති මට කියලා දෙන්න දෙයක් නැහැ. පාඩම් කරන තමයි තියෙන්නේ. Right. So bacterial fin rot and gill rot of course due to bacteria. So මේකේ මත දෙයක් නිකන් generally කියන ඕනේ මත දෙයක් විදියක්. An easy method for you guys to memorize this. So always remember these. Then my tables CFD, always remember them in order, right? So remember this side in order, right? Remember that side in order. So you get the bacterial fin rot and gill rot, hemorrhagic septicemia and columnaris disease. I'm කන්නඩේ දාන්න. ඒක තමයි අපිට පේන්නේ ඇයි. Right. So bacterial fin rot and gill rot, hemorrhagic septicemia and columnar disease as bacterial, like the causative agent is a bacteria, right? So bacterial agents are causing those diseases. So පළවෙනි තුන bacteria. Next one is basically fungi. External mycosis is fungi, right? So ඒක මතක තියාගන්න විදිහක් තමයි myco. ඔයගොල්ලෝ අහලා තියෙනවනේ mycorrhizae, right? Those are fungi. Those are symbiotic association with fungi, right? So myco කියන වචනෙන් you can remember that it's a fungi. Okay, external mycosis. කොහොමත් මේ ලෙඩේදී මුළු කෑල්ලම දෙනවා external කියලා disease එකක් නැහැනේ. Right? So external mycorrhizae you can remember that it's fungi from our mycorrhizae, right? Mycorrhizae වලින්. Okay. Then you get the itch disease and trichodinosis. Right? Trichodinosis. Okay. Itch disease is basically fish widespread disease, and you get trichodinosis. Okay. So those diseases, from those two diseases, right. Sorry for that. So external mycosis fungi, then may itch disease and trichodinosis is a little bit difficult, and unicellular external obligatory parasite and a unicellular external opportunistic parasite, right? May terms දෙක ගත්තොත් you will be learning them in microbiology, but මම කියන obligatory parasite එක කියන්නේ basically they can live or they become living only inside a host cell, right? Obligatory, right? Obligatory, they obligatorily live or they become living only within a host cell, right? ඒක තමයි obligatory parasite කියන්නේ. හරිද? Opportunistic means මෙහෙම දෙයක්. Opportunistic means basically අපි ගත්තොත් E. coli, right? E. coli is in our large intestine. E. coli is involved in producing these vitamins and all that. It's very beneficial to us when it's in the large intestine. If it enters any other system, such as our respiratory system, our genitourinary system, or system, it becomes a parasite, right? Opportunistic. They wait for the opportunity to infect. That's what they mean. Opportunistic means they wait for the opportunity to infect, right? So E. coli is an example where in our intestine, in a large intestine, it's beneficial. But as soon as it's able to get into the urinary tract or the respiratory system, it becomes a parasite. Opportunity කෙනකන් ඉන්නවා. හරිද? So මේක මතක තියාගන්න විදිය තමයි දැන් මෙතන වෙනස මොකද්ද? This one is obligatory, this one is opportunistic, right? So remember, the short name has the shorter word. Okay, short name has the shorter word. Each disease has the shorter word. So obligatory is anyway shorter than opportunistic name. Yeah, I'll be providing the recording. I'll be recording the providing. I'll be providing the recording. Right, so each disease is the shorter name. So obligatory, trichonidosis, you get the opportunistic. Then gill and skin infestation, of course, obligatory opportunistic, gill flukes and skin. So I hope that was clear. Working MCQ එකක් තිබ්බා. Let me see. I might take a little more than 9:30. I hope that's fine. Let me see. There was an MCQ from this. Okay, here we go. Right. Try this question. It's from the table. Yeah. Yeah. Applied biology is not actually a very difficult lesson now for A levels even. Yeah, yeah. The applied lesson is totally free. No, no, you don't need to pay in the next class. And no, extra knowledge තියෙනවා ටිකක් පස්වලම ඒක ඕනේ. Right. So what I was going to say was applied biology is not a very difficult lesson. Even for A levels, I did this lesson alone. I read the resource book and I studied it alone. I didn't go for a class to learn this lesson. Right. So I did it alone. So ඒ වගේ actually most classes don't do this even හරියට. So of course I did it alone and it won't be a big issue, right? But try to listen to what I say and try to understand what I say, and we'll do lots of questions, right? That will definitely help you. Okay, I'm getting the same response from all of you guys. So, say the correct statement. Trichordianosis is caused by a unicellular external obligated. Trichordianosis, it's opportunistic. Monkey wanted the longer name, longer word, right? So trichordianosis. Trichordianosis is caused by unicellular external opportunistic parasite, right? Columnaris disease is caused by fungi. No, monkey fungi nang it's myco. External mycosis is a disease caused by fungi. Wrong. Each disease is caused by unicellular external obligatory parasite. Yes. Each disease, shorter name, shorter word, obligatory. Bacteria gill rot and fin rot is caused by external, obligatory, opportunistic, gill flukes and skin flukes. Let me see. Yeah. See, I'm correct. I'll show. Hemorrhagic septicemia is caused by gill flukes and skin flukes. No, that's by bacteria. Okay. So, I think that will help you more than just memorizing this, right? Always use those techniques to remember this stuff. Right. Environment impact of ornamental fish culture. So, this ornamental fish culture can affect the environment positively as well as negatively. Okay, positively as well as negatively. So, a benefit is basically you can preserve the species, right? Basically, from ornamental fish culture, there are some species which are almost at the brink of extinction, right? There are species which are almost being eliminated from our environment and are almost at the brink of elimination. You can conserve those species using ornamental fish culture, right? You can conserve those species using ornamental fish culture. That's the major benefit. Right? So some impacts of ornamental fish culture are beneficial, while some could be harmful. The first benefit of ornamental fish culture is species conservation and production species that are difficult to obtain in the wild, right? So එකක් තමයි species conservation and may points දෙක එකම වගේ තමයි, right? So production species that are difficult to obtain in the wild. So in the wild, you get these rare species, you can grow them in ornamental fish culture. And of course, species conservation. Breeding and rearing of approximately 90% of freshwater ornamental fish traded globally are done under captive conditions. There are some environmental benefits or elimination of environmental damage via those breeding programs, right? So basically, these ornamental fish culture would, like when you are fishing for a rare fish, basically that can lead to damaging of the environment, right? When you're fishing for a rare fish in a natural environment, that might lead to damaging of the environment. But if you can culture that fish using ornamental fish culturing, then the damage to the environment can be prevented. Okay, that's what they mean. Okay, that's what they mean, right? So ekak species conservation, then you can find these, you can produce these species that are found in rare levels in the natural environment, and you can prevent the damage to the external environment, because basically like the trading of the fish and capturing of the fish is not needed, because ornamental fish culturing will provide these fish. Then golden arowana and tiger barb. These two names are very, very important. Okay, very, very important. Golden arowana and tiger barb. ඔය නම් දෙක අනිවාර්යෙන් දැනගන්න. හරිද? The golden arowana and tiger barb are two species that have been conserved via ornamental fish culturing. So it might come to a MCQ asking name two fish species that have been conserved by ornamental fish culturing. It might come to you as structured essay. So it's important, definitely important. In addition to the sale of fish to hobbyists, fish are also being reintroduced to habitats in which they have been eliminated. Basically, that's a step during species conservation, right? So in some habitats, fish were there and they might have been extinct or eliminated from that habitat. So by ornamental fish culture, you can reintroduce those fish into those habitats. Okay. All right. So those are the main advantages. Then when you consider the disadvantages, um, if these ornamental fish, the ornamental fish, they are cultured, so they are cultured or grown in different conditions. If they escape into natural environments, they might, right? They might affect the wild type species or affect the native organisms. Native organisms can are organisms, right? So if the ornamental fish is invasive, now the invasive can basically they will invade the entire habitat, right? They will invade the entire habitat and they will basically overtake the entire habitat and affect the plants and other fish living in that area. Okay. So invasive ornamental fish or aquatic plants that are accidentally escaped to natural environments could affect a wide range of native organisms from zooplankton to mammal across multiple levels of biological organizations, ranging from the genome to the ecosystem. Okay, so uh, mammals across multiple levels of biological organisms, ranging from the genome to the ecosystem. Basically, if the invasive ornamental species escapes to the natural environment, they will become very invasive and invade that entire environment, affecting those natural organisms. Okay. Hi. Then, with imported live fish, non-indigenous diseases, right? So basically, you can import these ornamental fish from other countries into your country, right? So when bringing that, they might carry diseases, right? They might carry diseases which will affect the entire species of the fish. Okay, so with imported live fish, non-indigenous disease causing agents may also come into the country, right? So non-indigenous disease causing agents may come into the country when fish are imported into the country. Hapsard use of broad spectrum antibiotics, right? Hapsard use can basically what they mean is unmounted, right? Or godak use mean, right? So now basically to treat the native fish or to treat the ornamental fish, antibiotics are used. Okay, antibiotics are used. Antibiotics fish to antibiotics basically the antibiotic will mix with the water. Yeah, the antibiotic might mix with the water, right? But right? So it might mix with the water. If that antibiotic goes into the natural environments, what happens is now antibiotic can antibiotic, right? It's against the biotic, antibiotic against biotic, right? That's what they mean by antibiotic. So if a certain make up then against a certain biotic pathogen organism, already organism can the bacteria or pathogen something. If this organism is affected with, or if this species of organism is affected with excessive levels of antibiotics go up then that organism becomes resistant to that antibiotic. Okay. Consider yourself, you feel the smell. If you continuously feel the smell, you don't feel it anymore. Right? That's called sensory adaptation. If you continuously give the same antibiotic to the, or if the species becomes exposed to the same antibiotic over and over again, what happens is that organism would become resistant to it. It gets adapted to the antibiotic. That will lead to antibiotic resistant pathogenic organisms coming into life in the environment, right? So Hepzad use of broad spectrum antibiotics and other chemicals as preventive therapeutic treatments and release of treated water into the natural environment may cause antibiotic resistance to chemicals used on pathogenic microorganisms, including human pathogenic bacteria, right? So may cause antibiotic resistance to chemicals used on pathogenic microorganisms, including human pathogenic bacteria. So that bacteria, those pathogens, might be antibiotic resistant, right? They might be resistant to the antibiotics. So that's what they mean. So that's another disadvantage. So you get advantages as well as disadvantages, right? Is that clear? They're not. Is that clear? What about the others? Is that clear? Right. Okay, good. So may external if you want to read it, you can read it. Yeah, I don't think I've never read it as well, right? So monkey but if you want to, if you really want to read it, you can read it. Uh, but taking on it now. We on it now. Right. Nursing management කරන්නද අද මම කරන්නද නැත්නම් පළවෙනි දවසේ නිසා අක්ක කල්ච් එකෙන් නවත්තන්න. No, from the external edge, you won't get questions. Ah, you want to do? Ah, okay, we'll do. I don't mind. Ah, okay. So you guys want to do? Okay, good. Oh, okay. Na karo. All right. Nursery management and propagation. So nursery. The session is interesting. Okay, thank you. All right. So nursery management got now. You guys know crop cultivation, ne? That you guys know anyway. Crop cultivation in greenhouses and all that. That's where crops are grown. That's where basically the crop or the fruit or the vegetable or the seed or the nut is grown, right? That's basically cultivation, crop cultivation. Nursery management means basically it's a nursery. Nursery kawuda inne? When you consider humans, nursery ni podi lamai. Ne? Yeah. Nursery ni podi lamai ne? So nursery management during this is plant. මෙතන අපි කතා කරන්නේ plant හරියද නැතුව not human nurseries. So nursery management ගත්තොත් what a nursery is basically that's where you grow the seeds, allow seed germination to occur, grow the seedlings, and you like seeds ටික grow වෙන්න දීලා you later move it to another place to allow the full plant to grow. But the primary use of a nursery is to allow the young plants and the seedlings to grow, right? So you can just take it from the meaning nursery. Basically even us nursery වල ඉඳලා තියෙන පොඩි කාලේ. So ඒ වගේ in a plant nursery is basically where the seedlings and the young plants grow. Okay, so you get the definition from that. Uh, Nursery is a specialized place for young plants and seedlings to be produced for transplanting in another place, right? So you produce the young plants and seedlings and later they are transplanted. Transplant again, not organ transplanting or anything. You move them into another place and plant them, right? Okay, මේක අපි කියවන ගමන් කරමු. මොකද explain කරන්න පුළුවන් වෙයි එතකොට. Plant propagation and nursery management can be done in the field. Orchard nee, I think it's the one. Orchard nee, orchard. Orchard can basically apples are grown in orchards where you get a large area with trees, right? So field, orchard, forests, or in a protected environment such as greenhouses, polytunnels, or tissue culture laboratories. Okay, so in a plus structure question where can be plant propagation and nursery management be done? Then you need to mention that they can be done in fields, orchards, forests, or in protected environments such as greenhouses, polytunnels, and tissue culture laboratories. Okay? Main requirement of a nursery is to providing optimum favorable conditions for germination and seed growth. Now, this is very important. They might ask you to state the main requirement of a nursery. The main requirement of nursery is to provide the optimum favorable conditions. You need to provide the optimum level of temperature, optimum soil pH, optimum level of water, optimal level of carbon dioxide over again, providing optimum favorable conditions for germination and seedling growth. This is a nursery, so you need to consider only about the young plants and seedlings. Germination, seedling growth, which provides healthy, vigorous, evenly grown plants leading to the best transplants. Best transplants can basically you take the seedlings and the seeds from the nursery and plant it somewhere else. Okay. Right. Growers have to growers. Okay. Growers are better than farmers. Growers. Right. Growers have to face several issues when they manage plant nurseries. The optimum capacity of a crop could be obtained only by providing optimum environmental conditions to the nursery plant. Of course, that's of course the only. If a plant gets the optimum environment conditions, if the plant gets the optimum environment conditions, then the optimum capacity of a crop can be obtained. That's just normal practical knowledge. Some of the issues in nursery management practices are management of light, right? So there are issues. Issues can again like issues can you need to like they are the factors that you need to consider during nursery management. The main factors, okay, right? Issues what they mean is basically the main factors during nursery management. So management of light, soil management, basically soil management, actually you get this type of soil, properties of soil, maintenance of soil. And you get pest and disease control, water management, water quality and quantity, right? The quality of water can be pH, the amount of oxygen dissolved, and the quantity of water. Some seeds need a large amount of water. Some seeds need just a small amount of water, right? So the quantity of water. Nursery structures, right? The structure of the nursery, a polytunnel like the, or if it's just a field, you need to consider the structure and the environmental controls, protected cultivation versus open air cultivation. Basically, protected cultivation can you cover it and you build a small greenhouse or a polytunnel, right? Greenhouse polytunnels can but then it's just like a small house where I used to grow crops and all. Okay. So nursery structures and environment controls can basically protected cultivation versus open air cultivation. Protected can you cover the plants in a small house like a structure. Open air cultivation can you just keep it in the open where you get all the rain and the sunlight and all those conditions affecting the plants. Okay. Hari. So method was it clear? Or do you guys have any issue? Was it clear? So again, මෙතන තියෙන important fact එකක් තමයි මේ these issues. Okay, the issues. You get management of light as the first issue, soil management as the second issue, pest and disease control the third issue, water management as the fourth issue, and the fifth issue is nursery structure and environmental controls. Right? Right. එහෙනම් බලමු අපි question එකක් කරලා. ඇත්තටම තේරෙනවද කියලා? Try this question and send me your answers. Okay, good. Which of the following is not an issue? अरे आप issues टिक पाड़ां करो. अरे issues टिक पाड़ां करो. So it starts with what? Starts with light, right? Maintaining light, maintaining soil, maintaining water or water management, pest and disease control, and nursery structure and environmental controls. So ඒකට අදාළ නැති දේ තමයි productivity management. එහෙම එකක් නැහැ. Okay, so fourth one is wrong. Hi, good. So all of you guys got it correct නේ. Nice. හරි බලමු දැන් එක factors අපි වෙන වෙනම අරගෙන බලමු. Right? Management of light. මේ first එක. Management of light is a critical factor for root cuttings, seed germination, seedling growth, as well as in tissue culture facilities. Light can be manipulated by controlling the quality and duration, right? So management of light is a critical factor for what? Management of light during these nursery management is a critical factor for what? It's for rooting cuttings. Rooting cuttings can basically don't know whether you guys know, you can basically cut a rose tree from the stem and plant it and you get a new plant, right? So again, rooting cuttings means stem cuttings. Basically, you can cut a branch and plant it, right? So that branch is what you call a cutting, and you can root the cutting and light will affect it. And seed germination, of course, you know seed germination is affected by light. Can anyone name which photoreceptor is involved in maintaining light? Which photoreceptor is involved in maintaining seed germination? We'll see whether you guys know unit 4. What's the photoreceptor involved in maintaining seed germination? It's phytochromes. Yes, it's phytochromes. Good, 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 good. Then seedling growth as well as in tissue culture facilities, right? So these are the 4 main points where management of light is needed. Light can be manipulated by controlling the quality. Quality can, of course, the wavelength, right? Wavelength or the frequency, right? Quality of light and the duration, right? Right? So light can be manipulated by controlling the quality and the duration. So you can change the time in which the plants are exposed to light, and you can change the quality of the light, right? That will affect the seedlings and the seeds. Soil management is a must to get a quality product, right? Of course, the soil should have the required pH, required nutrients, required substances, or basically the required texture is even needed, right? The required texture is even needed. Basically, if the texture is too thick, and all that, the plant won't grow properly. The plant won't grow properly. So even the correct texture is needed, right? So soil management is a must, definitely, to get a quality product. So you get the factors such as soil texture, the structure of the soil, the organic matter content influences soil condition. The soil condition can, of course, be improved via application of fertilizer and manure, right? So when you consider soil management, the major factors that you need to look into are the texture of soil, the structure, and the organic matter. Then how can you improve it? By applying fertilizer or manure. Manure again are a compost, right? Compost. Right. Then pest and disease control is, of course, anyway for a plant or for a seedling to grow, pest and disease control is definitely needed, right? So pest and disease control is vital to get a quality product and to maintain the health of the plant. Basically, if the plants are resistant to diseases and pests, that's very advantageous, right? If you are resistant to diseases, that's very advantageous, right? So pest and disease control is anyway vital. If the plant can resist the pests, can resist diseases and grow well, that's very important. Okay. So this is achieved via biological, cultural, physical, chemical combination of these as integrated pest management. Right? I don't think that's like very, very important. Okay. Right? This is achieved by biological, cultural, physical, chemical combination of these as integrated pest management. Right? So just know that pest and disease control is important. Then water management, right? Water management and humidity. Of course, plants need water to grow. Name a process where plants need water. Can you guys name a process where the plants need water? Can you name a process? What's the process that plants need water for? Yes, right. Plants need water for photosynthesis. Anything plants need water to move their food, to move the nutrients and all that, right? To move the nutrients, like basically phloem translocation. I think If water was not there, the phloem sap won't translocate, right? So the plants need water for phloem translocation, for photosynthesis, ascent of xylem sap. Yes, right? So those will affect the, so the water will affect those processes. Okay. So water management and humidity control are also critical factors which govern the rooting of cuttings and regulation of plant growth. So water management and humidity will govern rootings of cuttings and regulation of plant growth. The type of irrigation used depends on naturally. Okay, important, right? What's irrigation? Irrigation can be basically like uh, different structures which are used to supply water. Again, irrigation systems includes the tanks, the reservoirs, and all that thing, right? So the type of irrigation can again whether you use a tank or whether you use a tube well or whether you use just normal well. That's what you call irrigation. The type of irrigation used depends on natural conditions of the area. Of course, if it's an area where you get lots of groundwater, you can like build a tube well or a well. If it's an area where you get a large lake, you can take water from that. And again, the soil type would affect the slope of the land. Basically, if it's a very large thing, if it if me right? So and you get a lake here and you do the nursery here. It's very hard to get the water from here to here, right? Right? That's what they mean by the slope of land. Okay. Water availability and the crops to be irrigated, right? The availability of water should also be considered when you consider irrigation and the crop to be irrigated, right? If the crop needs lots of water, then you need a very big source of water. If the crop doesn't need much water, you can choose a surrounding where you don't have very much water. Okay. So adequate supply of good quality water is a must to a nursery. I think Manga explain can then that's very of course needed, right? Right. So during propagation nursery management, nutrients are supplied to the seedlings. Yes, although there are a number of ways to apply fertilizers, the type chosen depends on the form of fertilizer available, cultivator crop requirements, and the environmental conditions prevailing. So fertilizer may be applied as soils or liquid. So basically, that's what they mean is basically the form of fertilizer, whether it's a solid or a liquid, depends on the cultivator crop requirement and environmental conditions prevailing is what it depends on, right? So ඒක වෙනස් වෙනවා I think from the crop and from the environment conditions. මේවා ඉතින් ලොකුවට හිතන්න ඕන දේවල් නෙමෙයි. Right. Was it clear? ඒක තේරුණාද? මෙතනට වෙනකම්. Was it clear? I know I went on and on talking about it, but I hope that was clear. Yeah, what about the others? Was it clear? Right. Okay, then try this MCQ. Everyone answers. Right. Yeah, most of you got it correct. Ne? So, which of the following does the type of irrigation in nursery management not depend on? Not depend on. Right? Not. So, it depends on the slope of land. අපි ඉගෙන ගත්තා. It depends on the water availability. අපි ඉගෙන ගත්තා. It does not depend on the pH of soil. Type of irrigation. Right? Irrigation relates to water. Okay, irrigation relates to water. එතකොට soil කියපු ගමන් තේරෙන්න. Okay. Natural conditions of the area, it depends on natural conditions of the area, and it depends on the type of crop as well. Right? So, මම මෙතන මේ කතා කරලා මේ question එක හදලා තියෙන්නේ මෙන්න මේ paragraph එකේ. Okay? So, you get the natural conditions of the area, soil type, slope of the land, and the crop to be irrigated as factors, but you don't get the pH of the soil. Okay? So, type of irrigation, irrigation QM, again, it's water that they're talking about. Right? So, I hope that was clear. Soil type වලත් මෙතන in our resource book they haven't given the pH නේ. In our resource book they haven't given the pH. Yeah, pH එක දීලා නැහැ නේ pH of the soil කියලා. So එතන කොහොමත් එකක්. Okay? All right, let's do this small part and stop. Okay? So 3 minutes more. Detailed description of nursery structures and protected cultivation is given in the next section. In addition to these, other issues faced by the growers. Growers growers are lack of access to modern technology. Yes, the growers can farmers, right? So they just use these traditional methods, right? Mainly the farmers in the rural areas use the traditional methods for nursery management, right? Traditional methods which are basically open in the out environment. They don't have access to modern technology, right? So that's an issue. Lack of financial incentives to further improve the nursery and cultivation facilities. So the government should provide incentives. Incentives like they should provide financial assistance to the farmers so that they can improve the nursery management, because the farmers are still using the traditional methods. So to improve from that, the farmers need the modern technology, and so the government should provide the financial incentives for that. And then a shortage of quality planting and propagating materials, right? So they don't have quality materials, right? So they need quality tools, they need quality seeds, they need quality, basically quality raw materials, right? So when the raw materials are not there, then again, that's an issue. Then inadequate knowledge on suitable techniques and growth conditions that can be used to grow crops, right? Inadequate knowledge on suitable techniques and growth conditions that can be used to grow crops. Again, the farmers are not educated enough, right? In Sri Lanka, there are so many professors who are professors on agriculture. දැන් අපි ගත්තොත් bio කරන්න නැත්නම් usually කියන්නේ agriculture නේ. It's either bio or agri, right? Agri කරන අය ඉන්නවනේ. There are so many professors on agriculture in our country, but none of them do anything, right? Professors la කියන්නේ basically they are the most knowledgeable people in that area වගේනේ, right? But in Sri Lanka, there are so many professors in agriculture who do nothing, right? They just lecture in the universities and don't actually do anything at all, right? So if they have the knowledge, they should give that knowledge to the people who are actually doing it, right? So a knowledge it's wasted on those people, right? So ඒක තමයි fourth point එක. Okay? So modern technology නැති එක, financial incentives නෑ, and no proper raw materials and no proper knowledge or inadequate knowledge will affect the farmers. Okay? හරි. බලමු question එකක් මේකෙන්. තියෙනවද? Yeah, තියෙනවා. Right, try this question. Try this question and send me your answer. Yes, right. Good, good. Okay. So which of the following is not an issue faced by farmers? By farmers during nursery management? Lack of access to modern technology is an issue. Lack of financial incentives is an issue. Restricted rural areas of the country is not an issue. So that's the answer. And shortage of quality propagating materials is an issue. And inadequate knowledge and suitable techniques is again an issue. Right. So the answer is the third one. Okay, good. Right. Okay, so that's it on. Then තා පොඩි පාටක් තියෙනවා. We'll do that next week. ඒක අවුලක් නැහැ. මේ පාට එක මේ next week කරමු. මේක මම දන්නේ නෙමෙයි. So that's basically it on nursery management. Nursery management වල ඔය ටික තමයි mainly තියෙන්නේ. So yeah, what we did today was we did aquaculture, then ornamental fish culturing. So ඔය දෙක මේ separate topics under එන්නේ. හරිද? එකම topic එකේ යටතේ නෙමෙයි. Basically ornamental fish culturing කියවම that's again aquaculturing තමයි. But in the resource book, it's given as two separate points. Okay. So don't take it under the same thing. Okay. So definitely take it under the different topics, right? Take the examples under different topics, take the points under the different topics. Okay. So we did aquaculture. Mainly that's a big section where that's important. And then we started nursery management propagation and just a small section to go. And next week we'll move on to the other sections. And yeah, I don't think we'll have to take more than 4 sessions. The 4 sessions are more than enough. And we discussed a lot of questions as well. And yeah, I'll upload the recording as soon as possible. Yeah, I'll take a PDF of this and upload to the website. Then I'll take a PDF of this and upload to the website. You can download it from there. Okay. So now just let me know how the session was. Was it clear? Was it clear? Was it clear? Was it good? And how was it? This is my first time teaching a prep college. Then prep college. So how was it? Okay, good. Thank you for your comments. Okay, thank you for your comments. So I'll see you guys next week then. Next week, Tuesday at 7, we'll have the second session. I'll share the link as I did today, and you can join it. And yeah, I upload the recording definitely. If you want, you can watch it again. So yeah, good night then. Thank you for joining.